Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lawfare, the game. May it please the audience, I'm Rich Schoenstein. This is a new endeavor on our So Sue Me channel. We're going to have a little discussion with three of the best legal analysts I know that I was able to round up and secure for this endeavor. Let me introduce them, I think, in order of rank. So I'll start with Dave Aronberg, who's the former state attorney of Palm Beach County, Florida, and a well-known legal analyst. You've seen him all over the airways, MSNBC, and elsewhere. Dave, say hello.
Hey, what is Josh doing? What is that?
I brought my ringer. I'm not doing this solo.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
bringing the
Well,
Justice Kitty
the
watches
reason why,
all of it.
well, I love you guys. It's great to be with Josh and Sonny and you, Rich. And I'm here with some stars in the legal profession. And oh my goodness, there's a black cat crossing my path as I speak. That can't be good luck. But I would say this: if you're introducing me first, it ain't because of rank; it's because of alphabetical order.
I was going with rank. Well, I'm going to introduce next Sonny Slaughter, law enforcement SME and litigation consultant. And I think you do a lot of jury consulting, Sonny. So what else you got to say?
Oh my gosh. So, when I got the notice about this lineup, I was like, oh, I got to actually do my hair and put on glasses and like a little makeup because these guys are super stellar, as are you. And I love this. I can't wait. And of course, hey, kitty. I left Kova in the room.
I was gonna say, where's Kova? Kova's becoming quite the star.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
now we got the second
that brings us to number 3, Josh Schiffer, another very well-known legal analyst. All three of these guys are, and a private attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. Little known secret, I've worked with Josh both on air and off the air. Josh, what else say you?
Man, what more can you say when you have such amazing guests like Sonny and Dave? This is going to be super fun. We have
Well, let's
talked about this for a while, and I can't wait. Both Justice Kitties have appeared due to this august group.
Yes. Pets are welcome. Children are welcome. Friends are welcome. So what we're going to do is we're going to plow through 3 cases that have been really in the news, one of which seems to have reached a conclusion, and the other 2 of which are heading to trial shortly. So that's what we're going to do. And let me start with this guy. Anybody know who this dude is?
Rex, did your barber also plead guilty?
Did he? Seriously.
Tell us about your personal stylist. What crimes did? Sorry, I don't mean to be mean to somebody who deserves every last day in prison.
Yeah, you don't need to be mean to. You can be mean to a serial killer. That's actually
Yeah.
once he pleads guilty and he's done with his due process rights, you're free to be mean to him. Okay. So Rex Heuerman last week pled guilty, I think, to 7 murders and admitted an 8th. So my first question is to Dave Aronberg. Dave, 8 victims over 17 years. I assume we all think there are more victims than 8 over 17 years. Is that a fair thing to say, group? So Dave, what's the over-under for how many more victims are out there for a guy like this?
Well, I'd say the over-under would be 10, just because it's a nice round number. But keep in mind, when he admitted to killing the 8th victim, Karen Bergata, he wasn't even formally charged with that one yet. So that was like an extra he threw in. And what's to say there aren't multiple other extras that he's keeping just inside, maybe until he can get something for it. But right now, it's hard to say what he's going to get for it because he's never going to see the light of day outside of a prison cell ever again.
That's right, because he pled guilty to 3 of the counts in a manner that get him 3 consecutive sentences of life in prison without the possibility of parole, and then 4 additional sentences of, I think, 25 to life. So it is mathematically impossible that he will get out again.
Hey, it's New York. Anything could happen.
Well, I should have mentioned I've gone around around the globe to get these 3 guys. And we're all talking about New York cases. Sonny, why do you think he changed and pled guilty? He had staunchly professed his innocence for a long time, and then suddenly in the last couple of weeks, we had this shift and he pled guilty.
Well, we've seen this before. We've seen them go all the way up until the midnight hour, serial killers, and then decide, oh, well, not on behalf of the families, but on behalf of myself, let me spare myself and maybe my own family the opportunity to say, well, yeah, I did it. And like Dave said, he did it a little bit because of the plea and bringing in the 8th victim. But there are absolutely more victims out there. And I think he only did it because he has a stellar attorney, Michael, and he just realized, okay, I'm not going to win. So I think he just changed his mind. But I do believe, just like in the Ted Bundy case, that we're going to find years later, if not sooner, that there were other victims who have not been identified that will be later. I just think he just said he didn't want to.
I'd agree with all of that. And also, like, I don't know what his defense was.
Yeah.
He didn't have one.
He didn't have
one. There wasn't.
He's got a great attorney, Michael Brown, great attorney, but I just don't think he had a real viable defense. And maybe Michael finally convinced him, okay, this is not winnable, and we don't need to go all the way through all of this.
So, Josh, I'm going to ask you this because I know you do civil and criminal in your practice. There's already one civil litigation filed by the family of one of these victims against Heuerman, but also his ex-wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expect more civil litigation? Do you think any of that has a chance to go anywhere?
I definitely think it has a chance to go anywhere because fighting and defending that case from behind bars for life is a tough perspective and position. The over under on the bodies, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if 8 is 50%. We could see 15 or more in reality over the next 20, 30 years, depending on how they can extricate whatever information from Rex Heuerman they can. Because just like Dave and Sonny are talking about, this is good lawyering, but the client, man, what more can happen? What's the risk analysis at that juncture when you talk about the change in attitude? And I'm going to go from a vociferous defense to no, I'm just going to plead guilty. Man, rubber meets the road, and the lawyer has a come to Jesus meeting with you where it's all right. If you want to keep going down this fight, here's what I expect they're going to do, and it's awful. It's expensive. It ruins any positive relationships he has with anybody on the outside. And prison is a lonely place. When you're depending on someone to put money on your commissary, you want to keep the people outside, at least a couple of friends out there. He doesn't have a lot of friends. I think that the civil exposure is going to be interesting to watch, primarily because it'll tell us what's there. Civil lawyers won't just go chase judgments that weren't there and put a bunch of time and money into chasing something where there's not necessarily a get at the end. But certainly there's going to be a couple of attempts to remove all financial support he could ever have.
Yeah, so I don't think civil litigation against him, I think, goes nowhere because he has no assets. To me, the interesting part is them suing his family. Dave, what would it take to implicate the ex-wife? Like, she's not been charged by anybody with anything. There's been, speculation. There are people who say, oh, she must have known something. But what would you really have to prove to go after her?
Well, to go after her civilly is much easier than to go after her criminally, where you have to show she's an accessory after the fact. But apparently there was a high-profile documentary deal with Peacock that the family participated in. So that could be unjust enrichment, right? I mean, you're keeping the money. I know there are Son of Sam laws that could prevent Rex Heuerman from getting the money, but what about his wife and his kids? Is that justice if his wife lives high off the hog from the royalties from a docu-series about the horrific murders? So I think the key is to prevent monetizing the carnage here. And so I think that this is something that the victims' families could go to court, not to stop them from getting the money, but to take it from them so that they could have a little bit of justice.
And that threat of civil litigation Man, can you imagine what the defense bill is and what
Yeah.
that conversation is like? It kind of doesn't matter how strong a plaintiff's case would be. The law of declining returns is going to just crush the
Yeah.
defense.
And if they ever thought about writing a book or participating in other docuseries or anything at all, they just have all of those claims, all of those things. They're going to tie up everything from them. Even if they are not technically guilty, they are, in the eyes of the victim's family, they are guilty enough. And I'm surprised that they didn't roll in law enforcement in any form or fashion, that they did not roll in the actions of the police departments and agencies and what they could have done better in this particular investigation.
Well, that's an excellent point, and we still could see that litigation. Civil litigation very often comes in after the criminal matter is resolved. And while I think the recent efforts of law enforcement out on Long Island was very good to bring this case to a close, the earlier efforts were problematic. Okay, let's move to another case. Maybe you know this guy.
But yeah, Luigi.
Man,
Stand
All right.
up. This
Luigi
is a
Mangione.
great photo, too.
Yeah, I wanted to go
It's
back.
problematic. Yes.
Well, this is one of the problems with this case, right?
Yes.
It's a very straightforward case of a guy accused of shooting somebody on a street. And immediately, the first thing they do when they bring him to New York is they have him in this ridiculous perp walk. They've been very aggressive from day one. And I want to start, Josh, with you on this one, I think. We have a New York trial in state court, which is now scheduled for September 8th.
Yeah.
A federal trial that is now scheduled for January 5. Both of those dates have been moving targets. 2 trials in 4 months. Do you have due process concerns?
there are concerns, but the railroad is already gonna happen. And, I like to step back and look at this more in the meta than the individual justice for Luigi Mangione, because his life is in the blender. And I do not see him ever having an easy path forward for anything he does, even though this is the ultimate proof that if someone can screw it up, it's the government. Like you just said, Rich, this was an easy case. This case is a downright a lit. Dave, how many prosecutors have you trained that'd be like, this is an up and down case. Do not go screw this up. But what happened? Holy crap.
Mhm.
You're talking about major evidence just getting mishandled in an
Yeah.
indefensible way. Then you're going to get the dynamic of law enforcement fighting over who gets revenge first. Now, this guy's actions were wholly and completely criminal from everything that I know. He is guilty of first offense murder. Like, man, he planned it, he executed it, he ran. It's him. I don't have any doubts about that. He deserves as strong a punishment as can happen. And I get that it's a political case. Good for you. That's not really a defense. But good Lord, law enforcement, could you have done this better?
Yeah. And to that point, Dave Aronberg, what is the federal government doing in this case? Why is the federal government prosecuting this case independently?
They're making a point. First, they don't trust the liberals in New York City, especially Alvin Bragg, who prosecuted Donald J. Trump. And so they want to prove a point by saying, we don't trust you, and you can't get the death penalty at the state level. So we're going to show you we're going to get the death penalty at the federal level. Oops. then they failed in getting the death penalty.
Yeah.
So it's a tug of war, it's a turf war, and
Yeah.
it's political. In the end, it won't matter much because I do think he'll be found guilty in both trials, but he has won. His defense lawyers, Sonny was talking about the fine defense lawyer for Rex Heuerman. Look at the defense lawyers for
Yes.
Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
They've done an amazing job here. I
Yeah.
thought this case is a sure loser for them, and they have won some important victories already.
Which
Yeah,
talk
the-
about the case that's the unwinnable facts.
Yeah.
Man, they had that guy convicted by 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his defense has done incredible. Remember, the defense's job is to make it hard for the government. That's
Yeah.
the job. It's not about guilt or no. It make the state prove their case. And his lawyers have done a spectacular job.
I just note that, we talked about the Gilgo Beach case. We have 8 women who were tortured and murdered. No federal prosecution. Federal government could have charged things in that case. We have 1 dead healthcare executive, and the federal government is a full assault, have to give the guy the death penalty, have to prosecute it independently, and we get another Pam Bondi special trying to go forward. So does that bother anybody, the different approach?
Yes, always, because this is BS. First of all, law enforcement totally screwed this up. They had the backpack. They had him. Why not follow process? Wait for the search warrant. They didn't have any reason to fear. No, because he was sitting down. There was multiple folks. He didn't have access to it. They should wait. I train law enforcement. While you're trying to be overzealous, your life is not in danger. Nobody else's life is in danger. He didn't have direct reach of that backpack to get anything. You should probably wait, because then you're going to get the expert like me on the witness stand and say, oh, you screwed this up. That part is screwed up. Pam Bondi, between the politics, the pressure, the media coverage, this whole thing sucked. He is going to get convicted, I'm sure. But we've got to keep politics out of policing, politics out of our criminal justice system, and how we look at the Constitution, because constitutionally, I work for defense. And most people don't realize, wait, you work for the defense? Yeah, I'm on a defense case now of a convicted person, and I have given them hella good things to address in my case, because you cannot. If the person is guilty, you should be able to prove it without tainting the jury, without tainting the process, without tainting the evidence, without tainting the facts. You don't need to do all of that. Take the prosecution forward, do what you do best, and that is follow the evidence and the facts. In this case, the prosecution has not done that on the federal side. Pam Bondi should have stayed out of it. That's why she's back in Florida now. Well, sort of.
That's not really. I don't think it's this case that they were.
Yeah, not this case.
But let me ask you one question, because I know you do a lot of jury consulting, and whenever I talk about this case, I hear people say jury nullification. Is there a legitimate chance of jury nullification in this case, where a jury is going to come in and there's just going to be a juror or two who refuse to convict the guy because they think what he did was righteous? Is that realistically possible?
I would say his, what was it the last time I heard, because I didn't check recently, 1.2 million in the commissary in the GoFundMe. Yes, I think this is a case where you could see that if they don't analyze, assess, and address the jury in the proper way, ask all of the relevant questions, stay focused on their background, stay focused on their answers, stay focused on their behavior while the trial is going on to see if there's any taint, look over all of their social media now and throughout the trial. I think that is possible, because there are so many people who have issues with our healthcare and insurance system. I think this is one of those cases, not that it will succeed, but I think there's taint and there's potential jury nullification in some form.
Dave, how do you guard against that as a prosecutor?
You've got to really be vigilant. And when you are doing voir dire, jury selection, you've got to ask questions. And I think in this case, this would be a good use of your limited budget as a prosecutor to hire a jury consultant, because the defense, they always hire those jury consultants, right, Sonny and Josh?
Yes.
But prosecutors, we have state budgets and limitations, and this is the one because if there was ever a time where you want to know about a juror's background and whether they're a stalking horse, whether they're a Trojan horse, whatever horse you want to call it, that's what you don't want on the jury. Someone who's getting on the jury just so they could free Luigi. That's got to be the greatest nightmare for a prosecutor. It's worth the investment, state prosecutors.
Right. And if the feds want to be involved, they should pool their resources with the state.
Yeah.
They should be contributing to each other. You're laughing at me because that'll never happen.
They're the enemy. They hate the state. The reason why they're involved is because of politics. They hate the state. They hate Alvin Bragg, and they want to prove a point. They don't trust them. And also, quite frankly, they don't like the fact that you have this Antifa adjacent guy, Luigi, killing this this healthcare executive. So yeah, they're proving a point. They're
But if
not
he
going to
gets
work with the state
acquitted,
to do
if he
anything.
gets acquitted in state court, they'll never get to a federal trial.
If he gets acquitted in state court, the federal trial becomes totally insane.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
my mentor, Jerry Spence, who is the great old man of trial work, he talks about how there's a betrayal in every single trial, and that you talk about once you identify the betrayal, and it's not just a straightforward betrayal, you're talking about reframing a case. In the state and the government's perspective, the Mangione prosecution needs to be about 45 minutes long. This is you. Here's where you were. Here's where you shot the guy. That's a murder case. It's short. The defense and the state and Fed are playing right into this. They want to reframe this case, make it all about the other issues, and put the system on trial in order to get that juror that Dave's talking about, where you turn on that juror who goes, man, I know the facts are real clear that this guy took the life of another person, but look at all the crap surrounding this, and can I be part of that?
Yeah.
And can I support selective, overzealous prosecutions? Can I support specifically targeting for political reasons, political speech, political action? Yes, the political speech was violence. It was shooting an executive, but it's still clearly political speech. You reframe that in front of a jury, I got to win 12, brother. I need two people that stand up and can clean out of that herd and go, whoa, you guys are afraid of wrongful acquittal. I'm afraid of wrongful conviction.
Yeah.
That's the message that I think with the right jerk, man,
Yeah.
if they
I think
lose
the
it,
state-
it's like you said, clear who's at fault.
The state was actually helped by the fact that the terrorism charges were dismissed, because having to prove that this was terrorism as opposed to having to prove that it was murder, it's a much higher burden. Let's grab one last case before we have to disperse here. Who knows these people?
Say it ain't
Blake
so.
Lively.
It's not Blakey and no, it's not Blakey and Justin, is it?
Counsel do not have
First
problems, Rick. I've known you long enough, and you have no problems because you're so good looking. There's not a case here. These are two good
Well,
looking.
hold on. That's not my first question, Josh. My first question is, did anyone see this movie?
No.
No.
I got
Never even heard of it.
lambasted because I put up a post and I said the movie didn't do well, and everyone yelled at me that apparently the movie did $250 million in business.
It did
And I didn't-
well. It just didn't do well after the fact, but it did well in the theaters. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, it's come and it's gone. First question is Sonny. So these are two actors squaring off in court. The case, which was this big, is now this big because all of his claims are gone and most of her claims are gone. So my first question here is, what is a jury going to make of these two actors going against each other? Are they going to get interested in this case?
Yeah, because the actors themselves are well known for the most part, and they're going to think it's entertainment. So we have contracts, credibility, and whether they have anything to offer in their acting skills will show up on the witness stand. Whether they can prove their case, whether they can say, I'm the more credible person, this was a contract issue and there's context there. So yeah, I think the juries are going to get into this because they love to see actors play out their real life drama, personal drama, in a courtroom.
Josh, as I started to read, I did not make it all the way through the 150-page decision on summary judgment. But all that's left are retaliation claims and a breach of contract claim for retaliation. Do you think there's much of an actual case there?
Yeah, it's not a lot of case because what the actual argument about is, hey, all this happened, and now let's talk about this little conclusory part that's kind of tough to describe in an efficient manner. There's going to be enormous effort and resources put into bringing an actual civil trial. It's very much a circular firing squad. Y'all lost. Every one of you lost. Because even if there is a judgment, then there's going to be appeals and chasing the money that they may or may not have. Which is the ultimate frustration in civil, why people really do hate the law, is because even when you win, you still have not won.
To your point, Josh, here's the docket for this case, which was filed. I mean,
Look at the
those are
number
all
of
the
lawyers
lawyers.
on this.
Those are all the
Wow.
lawyers. And
Wow.
How come we didn't get in
And
on
those are
that?
New York lawyers. They charge
they should have called
$75
me.
an hour.
Sonny,
Right.
they could have used you. Oh,
Yes,
Oh,
they
yeah.
could have used all of us. Are you kidding?
I've tried 2 cases in front of this judge. They could have called me. But so this
Holy.
case, which I don't think is quite 2 years old, has 1,353 docket entries.
Whoa.
And so in civil world, just for everybody watching, so there's the claim, I'm suing you for this, and then you're probably going to sue me back for that. Then the clock starts ticking. And
Yeah.
every minute that we are dancing, every lawyer is running the ticket. And
And
with
I will
that
tell
many
you-
lawyers, that ticket, they could be spending $1 million a day in trial between them all. And the fee assignment and the fee petition and and that's what determines why this case does not go to trial, why it gets settled out. And these people need to go away. But the one thing I really want to say that I wish we had in criminal that this case reminds us of, it's like you said, Rich, it started out huge and now it's tiny because a judge got involved and sliced and diced all the dumb crap out of it. We need more of that in criminal because now, the last 15 years, we've seen this overcharging as the process in criminal, where the state says, all right, we got you doing this. The investigation justifies these 4 charges. We're going to charge you with 10 things, including some absolutely insane stuff.
All good points. Dave Aronberg, the case is scheduled to begin trial on May 18th. Trial is settled.
Lost you on the last one. There was a cough and I couldn't hear the question.
It's supposed to start trial in a month. Do you think it'll make it or do you think it'll settle?
I don't know what going to trial will do to benefit either party, unless you're Johnny Depp. Celebrities who engage in high-profile litigation don't normally look good afterwards. So I think that this will settle, especially because, like, Lively got 10 of her 13 counts dismissed. It went from Me Too to contract review. It's like a boring case now, and there's only a few case counts left. So I say settle this thing. The only winners now are the lawyers.
She got 10 of 13 claims dismissed and immediately went on Instagram and declared victory.
That's very Trumpian.
I was going to say that.
Been the plan the whole time. This was the plan.
All right. Those are our 3 topics for the day. I'll give you each a chance actually I have one closed question and then I'll give you each a chance for a final word. So here's my closing question to each of you. What's your favorite song about lawyers or the law? Dave Aronberg.
I have to go first on that. Meanwhile, they get to think about it.
Yeah.
My favorite. So, well, I fought the law and the law won as a prosecutor. I mean, that was right up my alley, you know? And John Cougar Mellencamp, who's a really cool guy. I saw him interviewed on Bill Maher recently. I really like the guy. So that's my song.
Okay. Josh?
Man, this is I Shot the Sheriff is an absolutely fantastic song that I have sung many, many times. But there's really a classic Johnny Cash song, Don't Bring Your Guns to Town, which is my favorite criminal song. And it is all about how moms don't let your babies, don't bring those guns to town. Because if you got the gun, you're going to use it and go to prison.
Sonny Slaughter.
You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, know when to walk away and know when to run. So that's going to be my song when it comes to lawyers and lawyering.
Okay, that's excellent. I Fought the Law is the correct answer. It's the only answer. However, the only acceptable versions of that song are the Bobby Fuller 4 and the Clash. I don't know about Mellencamp.
The Clash version, I was born in 76, so I got a Clash, 100%.
The Clash version is good. I don't know who Bobby Fuller is.
Closing arguments, any final things you want to say? I'm going to start this time with Sonny.
So, can I do this again? That's what I want to say. I
Sure.
want to be on again for another panel, and you can put me on with these guys. This was fun, great cases, great commentary, and a great explanation of how the law looks to those that need to understand a little bit more about how it works criminally, civilly. I love this, and can you just reach out to me again, because I want to be on. That's all I have to say.
Okay, will do. Will do. I've got some other people in the mix, and I was going to say generally to anybody watching, if there are analysts out there who want to do this, you can find me. I'm on the internet. Let me know. Josh, closing
I
argument?
want to. I want to know what my parting gift is. I was promised prizes, possibly some sort of new car or dinner at Sardi's, and maybe a consolation. Is there a home version?
I
Do I
didn't
get?
get that. I didn't get
Yeah,
that
I'm gonna,
email.
I'm gonna,
I'll say.
I'm gonna work on merch. I'm
I'm
gonna work on
telling you,
merch.
I want. I want the rich home goods selection so that I can do the whole kitchen renovation in 100% Schoenstein.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Now,
All
really,
right,
thank you so much for.
Dave
I love
Aronberg,
these guys.
I've kept you longer than I promised. Closing
It's
argument?
okay. It's worth it because Rich, when you asked me to do this show, I said, how much? And is it in cash? And I want to say thank you for having it. I mean, after all, your name is Lawful Riches. So when you put that out there as your name, it's
Hmm.
all about the Benjamins. I want to thank you for having us here. Of course, we do this pro bono, which is a great legal term, meaning we love you, man, and I
Yes.
hope to do it again.
Okay, excellent. And since I said this was a competition, the winner this week, Sonny Slaughter.
We're gonna need a trophy.
Anything?
We are gonna need a trophy.
What got me because to me as a practicing trial lawyer, the jury insights are gold. The jury insights are
You,
gold.
you win or
Now
lose
you
your
can.
case with the jury. Period.
Yeah.
All the other stuff doesn't matter if you've lost the jury. End of story.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Thank you
guys
for
very much.
having
I
Thank
me.
you.
appreciate you doing this. All right, there you have it. We played Lawfare, the game. Very special thanks to Dave Aronberg, Sonny Slaughter, and Josh Schiffer, three great legal analysts that I've worked with over the years and watched a lot on the air. They were very kind to come on and do this, and I think we had a pretty good discussion. So you guys know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it, share the video. I want to see if we can get people who are interested in watching. If you have comments, if you have objections, leave them in the comments. I do take a look at those. I'm thinking about responding to some of them in future editions as a possible part of the show. We will see. But go ahead and leave your comments if you like. I think it's good to have the interaction. That's great. I'm going to try to be back here with another edition at least next week. For now, we are adjourned.